It's not 12 hours, it's 12 months. You've been gone a whole year. Sorry.
Hello and welcome back to another Thoughts Per Episode Doctor Who edition. Today we will be talking about Aliens of London. The first part of a two-part episode. The first two-part episode, and I honestly wasn't sure how I was going to do this. I actually, when I was going into watching this episode, I was originally going to do 2 episodes in one podcast episode, but I feel like there's just too much to talk about in terms of like both episodes. Like after having finished Aliens of London, I'm like, I've got enough to say about this episode to take up an actual podcast episode. So I hope it's okay by you listeners if we take 2 weeks with this two-parter. And because I am a consistent man, this is also going to be the case going forwards, just so that every episode has its own room to breathe, I suppose. That means we will be sticking with cliffhangers as cliffhangers instead of just like a little, talking point about the thing that happened halfway through this story. It's also going to make season 13 much easier to make content around, because I really didn't want to watch an entire season just for one video. Anyway, Aliens of London. The Doctor takes Rose back home for a visit after a few days, except it turns out that instead of popping her back 12 hours after she left, he's popped her back 12 months after she left, and she's been missing all this time. Now, when I think about this Slovene two-parter, usually I think about it in terms of like the Slovene kind of being a thing all the way through, but actually what you've got is this first part where they're shrouded in mystery, and it's like a first contact story, and you only see them at the end of the episode, whereas the second episode deals with the fallout of their actual invasion. And I'll be honest, this I'm not a huge fan of the Slovene. I think they're very the whole point of them is that they're like evil, but like in a comedic way, and I don't like it. Not to sound grumpy, I guess this is coming from the same part of me that, dislikes not having a continuity that makes sense in Doctor Who. But also, I kind of wish I would take a First Contact invasion story more seriously. I don't know. That being said, I didn't dislike watching this episode as much as I thought I would, especially since a large bulk of it focuses on basically being a sequel to the pilot. Like, this episode opens with a very rare last time on Doctor Who kind of a thing, where we get a little bit of a highlight reel recapping the events of Rose, and that's very necessary because the events which take place in this episode are a direct continuation. And something I really like about the RTD era is that there is always this emphasis on the companion's life that they've left behind, what their what their travelling looks like from their family's perspective, how their family think about it, how their loved ones think about it, how it affects their life overall. And you get a little bit of that with, I guess, Amy and Rory, and a little bit of that of Clara. But no, I feel like the further you go through the show, the less of an impact it actually has on the companion cast. And of course, not all families and not all mothers take kindly to the Doctor's meddling in the affairs of their daughter's life.
How old are you then? 40? 45? What'd you find her on the internet? Go online and pretend you're a doctor?
I am a doctor.
Prove it. Stitch this, mate.
We as the audience are almost made to feel bad as people who have enjoyed going on this journey with the Doctor and Rose, because Rose has been away for a year, and you can see the effect that's had on her mother and how painful it was for her. And obviously in the next scene we see Rose crying like these guilty tears and like feeling torn about not being able to tell her mother where she had been. Although it is very much Rose's decision not to tell her mother where she's been, as she tells the Doctor, like, she can't cope with the same world of aliens that Rose and the Doctor exist in.
She slapped you.
900 years of time and space, and I've never been slapped by someone's mother.
Your face.
It hurts.
You're so gay.
Much has been made of that line, but, I existed in the year 2005, that's just how people talked. It's clearly delivered with affection.
When you say 900 years...
That's my age.
New Doctor lore just dropped. I love that we don't get info dumped with all of this information about the Doctor as new viewers. It's not until episode 4 we learn that he's this timeless, aged old man in a younger man's body. And then Rose makes a joke about it being a hell of an age gap, which means she's thinking about it. Of course, we do see the return of Mickey in this episode, and unfortunately it seems like he's been much maligned by the residents of Canary Wharf, everyone just deciding that he had murdered Rose, which seems a little bit off to be honest. Just being like, boyfriend must have done it. Come on, everyone, you're supposed to be a little bit better than that. But I think the fact that Rose doesn't even think about going and telling him that she's alive for an entire day, and he has to come and find her just hanging out in her mum's place. I think that really says it all about where Rose's head is at regarding Mickey. Like, later on, she does tell him, like, of course I missed you, and of course over the course of this series, they do try to rekindle their relationship somewhat, but I think the writing is kind of on the wall at this point. Anyway, then aliens invade, because here's a really fun thing. You know how in The Doctor's Wife, I believe it is, it's revealed that the TARDIS always took the Doctor where he needed to go when he accuses her of never taking him where he wanted to go, because he's always landing in the wrong time, as evidenced by this episode, the fact that he's 12 months late instead of just 12 hours. I like to think that the TARDIS was drawn into 12 months later because this was about to happen. By the way, obviously we're not talking about the Doctor's wife in this episode, but the TARDIS being sentient and knowing of, you know, future events and directing the Doctor towards these events is such a brilliant fucking explanation as to why the Doctor always lands in an area where shit's about to go down. Like, it's something that didn't need explaining, but when you do explain it, it makes so much sense, and it really lends itself to the narrative, I think.
Never mind the traffic, we got the TARDIS.
Better not. They've already got one spaceship in the middle of London. I don't want to shove another one on top.
Yeah, but yours looks like a big blue box. No one's going to notice.
Well, you'd be surprised. Emergency like this, there'll be all kinds of people watching. Trust me, the TARDIS stays where it is.
Obviously, it's explored later in this episode, but I think it's brilliant that the reason why the Doctor doesn't want to take his TARDIS in to investigate the alien crash is because he's worried that UNIT will notice him, basically. And as you see throughout the course of the 9th and 10th Doctor's runs, I feel like he's kind of hesitant to get re-involved with UNIT. He mentions to Rose it's because his face has changed, but also, you know, UNIT's very much a military outlet, and he has just come out of a Time War. So, hi, again, it's me pointing to the Doctor's trauma from the Time War as a reason why he's avoiding a particular situation. Am I reading too much into things? Perhaps. Is it fun to do so anyway? Of course, that's why we're here. God, early Doctor Who is just so well written. This is a complete unrelated aside, but I really want to do this with Game of Thrones at some point as well. Just go through in fine detail and pick out all the cool stuff. And maybe Clone Wars into Rebels into Ahsoka as well. Anyway, Doctor Who, we can stay focused. I don't have ADHD.
The emergency protocols, detailing the actions to be taken by the government of Great Britain in the event of an alien incursion.
Right. Good. Blimey. Pardon me.
This episode reeks of farts are funny. Farts are so funny. Farts are the funniest fucking gag in the world. And if it was limited in scope, maybe the Slovene would be okay, but,
Oh, excuse me. Oh.
What's going on here? Where's the rest of the cabinet? Why haven't they been airlifted in?
I cancelled it. They don't need to get in the way. Oh, there I go.
I'm shaking my booty.
Russell, why? Why, man? Good Lord. What were you actually thinking? What on earth was this? I mean, okay, if I'm going to put my writer analysis hat on, then I'm going to say that clearly this is an attempt to show that the aliens are, you know, defying the social norms of a situation by farting and laughing about farting in one of the most extremely serious situations in human history, and thereby showcasing the fact that they are not only alien with alien customs and all that, but more importantly, you know, ambivalent to the feelings of the humans in the room. But do it another way. If I were to tell someone to watch Doctor Who from the start, I would be concerned about them getting through the Slovene two-parter, you know?
Where do you think you're going?
Nowhere. It's just a bit human in there for me.
Fuck, I fucking love that line so fucking much, okay? It takes the idea of feeling like the only person in the room who is alien and it displays it perfectly. Previously, we had scenes of a doctor trying to watch the news, trying to take in the majesty of humans having their first contact scenario, specifically interested because he didn't come here for that and he didn't know it was going to happen, so he can kind of be part of events in a natural way, which is so often not something that he's able to do. And then all around him, he's got people being distracted by their own lives, and it's just like the perfect metaphor for being a part of a room which you don't feel like you belong in. Your interests are alien to everyone else's, and more specifically, your interests, which might be more nerdy or geeky in terms of like sci-fi, because an alien contact, what would that be like, are out of place with the rest of a room which is more focused on the here and now and events which are currently taking place. And I don't know, like obviously not in this particular example, but like different interests like pop culture and stuff. It's just so well portrayed, and it's so fucking relatable for me specifically. And oh my god, it's just like, it's not even meant to be a big thing in the episode. And I always kind of read this with the doctor leaving as he was about to go and investigate, but later on he mentions that he couldn't help himself. So clearly when he's saying this line about it being a bit too human in there for him, that is actually the truth. Like, he is actually just going out for some air. And I just hardcore relate to the doctor in this scene so much. Holy shit. To put it another way, the doctor is this person who has this knowledge about society being a construct. Like, he has been to other times and other places, and he knows that the things which many people in the room seem to think are the way that the world is are not the only way that the world can be. And so I guess also it seems like he's bothered by their kind of limited mindset in that kind of way, but not like in a malicious way, not like I'm the smartest person in the room kind of a way, just like I guess like he's probably bothered by the idea that people aren't really paying attention to the news, and this is meant to be a really big moment, and in another time and another place this probably would enrapture everyone involved like it enraptures him, but because of the way society is constructed, people have different focuses. I don't know if what I'm trying to say makes any sense, but it really does feel like a deconstruction of someone feeling out of place in a society by by having seen things outside of the limits of that society, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm sorry, I'll move on. Anyway, then he gives Rose her TARDIS key, which is lovely and probably quite important because obviously he does then go flying off, and if he hadn't done that, we as the audience might probably think that he was abandoning her just like Mickey did. Anyway, when the Doctor does go investigating, firstly there's this fun scene where he basically commands a room full of troops who were pointing their guns at him out of suspicion just mere moments before, but with his sheer presence and his sheer determination to go and save whoever was screaming, he immediately takes control of the situation, and unilaterally every single one of the soldiers follows him, even though they do not really know why they are doing so, as you can see by their facial expressions. And that's just fun. That just shows how much authority the Doctor commands, and something that props up over the course of the entire show. But then we find out that the body that they pulled out of a spacecraft was indeed a hoax, but it was only a hoax that the aliens could have set up with their alien technology. So it was aliens faking aliens, because the Slovene are just massive fucking trolls, and they put a pig in a spacesuit.
What did you do that for? It was scared! It was scared.
Another theme which props up over the course of a show, and fairly prominently in RTD's era specifically, is the Doctor and his awkward relationship with the military and their way of looking at the world. Again, I've already related this back to the Doctor's own experiences in the Time War. If this were a video game and the player was controlling the person who shot the fake alien pig, and the Doctor was your companion, you'd have a little thing in the top left of the screen right now saying, "The Doctor disliked that," and you would have negative karma in your relationship with him.
What's going on? What's this doctor done now?
He's vamoosed.
He's not, because he gave me this. He's not my boyfriend, Mickey. He's better than that. He's much more important and
Now that is a fascinating line, which obviously gets cut off as the TARDIS begins to materialise in front of a understandably bewildered Jackie Tyler. She really goes through it in this episode. It's fascinating because all at once Rose positions her relationship with the Doctor as something that is not romantic. He is not her boyfriend like Mickey. is/has been/will be again. Everything is kind of up in the air regarding that entire trio right now, but while also confirming that the Doctor is not her boyfriend and they're not romantically entangled, she also... God, the way I fucking put that. She also says he's more than that, he's better than that, which kind of puts him above Mickey as her boyfriend. I know I said previously that you can kind of see the romance blossoming between Rose and the Doctor throughout the course of this season as well as the next season, and I do still stand by that, but I also think that this kind of early up in the air, not understanding how things are going to shake out, love triangle kind of situation, I think it's kind of fascinating. And I love that it's more complicated than just, is he my boyfriend, are you my boyfriend, who's my boyfriend, who do I have feelings for, because it's often way more complicated than that. At this point in the story, the Doctor is someone who has shown Rose a far more interesting side of the universe than she has ever had the opportunity to experience, and he has trusted her as well to exist in that universe alongside him, and believes in her competence to behave in dangerous situations. And the combination of, I think, all of those things does put him above anyone she's ever met in her life, romantic or not. In this episode, we're also introduced to
Harriet Jones, MP, Flydale North.
A very peculiar character who, despite all of the things that are currently going on, really wants to have a word with whoever's in charge so that she can bring across her political plans to help... I don't even remember what it was anymore. She wants to help her constituency. She is a good politician who cares about doing the right thing, but also kind of misses the forest for the trees because... if you hadn't noticed, aliens are attacking, and this has been pointed out to her several times, and she still persists in trying to get the attention of those who are trying to deal with the whole alien invasion thing. So maybe she's not good at prioritizing situations, but she does have, you know, the best interests of the people she represents at heart. And she also goes through it in this episode when exposed to the extraterrestrial in quite a unkind way, as she watches the green aliens come out of their flesh suits and murder a dude. I wonder if this will inform her stance regarding extraterrestrials at a later point within her own storyline. I wonder.
This is all about us, alien experts, the only people with the knowledge how to fight them, gathered together in one room. Excuse me, do you mind not farting while I'm saving the world?
Would you rather silent but deadly?
You know, I'm starting to think differently about season 14 and the 60th specials. Maybe bringing Russell back wasn't a good idea after all. Who let this man write this script? Who let this get filmed? Who's responsible for this other than Russell? I have to know. I have some angry letters to mail. Anyway, that brings us to the cliffhanger at the end of this episode, which, when I was 9 years old, was young enough and naive enough to be very concerned by. How will the Doctor get out of this one? Oh no, he's literally being electrocuted to death. And I think I spent the next week assuming that the Doctor was gonna die, and that the story would kind of play out from there. I couldn't see any way for him to get out of this cliffhanger.
Thank you all for wearing your ID cards. They'll help to identify the bodies.
See you next week for the thrilling conclusion.